Please first hit pause and take a look at the answer from number 65. Okay, this is your warm-up. Please hit pause while you do the two warm-up questions. The first one says to fill in the diagram and with as much as you can. And the second one, you need to simplify this given expression, which is kind of hard to see, so I'm just going to move it right down here. So the first thing that you should have simplified is you should have said that this was quadrant 1. This was quadrant 2. Down here, you had quadrant 3, quadrant 4, the origin, the y-axis, and the x-axis. If you ever find yourself getting confused on which quadrant is, remember you always want to be correct. So it always goes in the direction of the C. Start here with 1, 2, 3, 4. You want to be correct with the coordinate plane. So here are your answers for 1-7. That was your homework last night. So please just go ahead and take a minute, take a look at those answers, check yours, make sure that you got a 100%, and your substitute will be in to check to make sure that you actually have these complete. Please put what you got out of, there were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 questions. So what did you get out of 12 on this homework assignment? Okay. First thing that we're going to talk about is filling in. It says the coordinate plane is formed by the intersection of two perpendicular number lines called axes. The point of intersection is called the origin, and that is 0, 0. Your x-axis is the horizontal number line, and your y-axis is your vertical number line. An ordered pair is always x, y. You must make sure that you put these parentheses around them. That was the biggest thing that I noticed on your Chapter 0 quiz. Now we're going to go ahead and graph and locate some points. So let's graph point A. So this is your x, this is your y. B, 0 is x, y, x, y. You're always going to start at your x, so you'd go -4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then up +5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And go ahead and put an A. B is 0, so you don't move at all on the x, and down -7, down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 on your y-axis, and that's letter B. Then you need to go ahead and C is 6, -2. So you go over to 6, down to -2, and you have C. It says name the quadrant in which each point lies. So go ahead, hit pause, name the quadrant, and then hit clear. You should have had that A was in quadrant 2. B, if you had any quadrant, technically you were incorrect. B is not in either 3 or 4. It's on the y-axis. And last but not least, C is in quadrant 4. And these are the Roman numerals. I have down here a question. It says if you graph 10 points whose x-coordinate is 2, what would this look like? So let's go ahead and let's pick a bunch of x is 2. So that might be the ordered pairs 2, 0, 2, 1, 2, 2. Let's graph those. We have 2, 0, 2, 1, 2, 2. What does that look like it's forming? Well, to me, it looks like a vertical line. This is something to keep in mind. When x was 2, notice all of my x's were 2, it created that vertical line. We are going to go ahead and skip that for now. We're going to move on to this. An equation that contains 2 variables, so 2 different letters, can be used as a rule. Rule is another word for equation to generate ordered pairs. Typically, your two letters are X and Y. When you substitute a value for X, you generate a value for Y. The value substituted in for X is called the input because you're putting it in, and the value generated for Y is called the output. You put something in for X and you get Y out. I always think about it like it's a machine. You have your function machine. You're it's like a little blender. You have your blender. You put all your X's in. They go in. It gets blended up. It does all kinds of operations. And then out comes your Y. That's why your X comes first. X, comma, Y. Input, comma, output. Writing function rules. Generating and graphing ordered pairs. Here is our next question. It says Joe has a job to mow lawns over the summer. He charges a flat rate. A flat rate means constant. Underline that. You want to underline important words that stick out to you. A flat rate of $20 per lawn for the first hour, and an additional $10 for each hour after the first. Write a rule or an equation for this function. Let Y represent the money Joe will make, and X represent each hour after the first. Then complete the graph. The first thing you must always do is define X and Y. What does X represent? What does Y represent? Every rule has an X and a Y. So X we know and highlight it in there. X represents the hours after the first. So I'm going to go write that down. X equals the hours, and it's important, after the first. Then Y equals, and go ahead and look through there, find a key word. Y represents the money he makes. So Y equals the money Joe earns. It's important. Earning is different than spending. So make sure you write the word earns. So let's think about our rule. He charges a flat rate of $20. Is he earning the $20? Yeah. So the money that he earns is he earns $20 for every lawn for the first hour, and an additional $10 for each hour after the first. So if it's each hour after the first, he's gaining more money, and it's $10 for each hour. Or you could say per hour. Per typically means multiplication. So $10 times the number of hours. So now we need to complete the table and graph. My input, remember, we can pick whatever we want to put in for X. I would not pick large numbers that make it very challenging. So let's go ahead and maybe put 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now to find our output, you're going to go ahead and substitute it in. For plugging 1 in, you have Y equals 20 plus 10 times 1. 10 times 1 is 10, so you get 20 plus 10, which equals 30. So you have 1 comma 30. And then you go ahead and write your ordered pair. Take a couple of minutes and go ahead and write the rest of your ordered pair. Okay, when you plug 2 in, 2 times 10 is 20, 20 plus 20 is 40. 3 times 10 is 30, 30 plus 20 is 50. You might be noticing a pattern, and then you got 60. So you had 2 comma 40, 3 comma 50, and 4 comma 60. Now you need to make sure that you make an appropriate scale. Instead of going by ones on your y-axis, maybe you should go by, look at 30, 40, 50. Let's go by 10. So let's label this 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80. And these are her hours. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And now let's just go ahead and graph it. So we'd have 1 comma 30, so over to 1 up to 30. 2 comma 40 over to 2 up to 40. 3, 4. Now let's label. These are the hours, and this is the dollars earned. And let's think, what type of numbers are over here? These are negatives. Can you have negative hours? No. Can you have negative money? No. So are you going to be using these two quadrants? No way. You're actually not going to use this either because you would have negative money. So your line then, you'll connect it, and you need an arrowhead on the right. You would not need an arrowhead over here because then you'd be going in the negative direction, which you would not want to. This is called a function. Isn't it so much fun? Okay, so remember, no negative hours. You have to think about what part you could actually use. Does it create a pattern? Yes, it creates a line, in fact. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is we are going to graph some more ordered pairs for a pattern. The first one, make it a little smaller so you can see it a little bit better. There we go. Perfect. Okay. So for A, it says y equals x squared for x equals -2, -3, and -4. Okay, so y equals x squared -3 for x equals -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. You're going to go ahead and make a table, an x, y table. Your x's are -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. When you substitute in, put x in parentheses. This is very important, otherwise you will not get the correct sign. So our first one is y equals, in parentheses, -2 quantity squared -3. -2 times -2 is +4 minus 3. 4 minus 3 is 1. So you have -2, 1. Plug -1 in. Show your work, folks. Y equals, in parentheses, -1 quantity squared -3. -1 times -1 is +1. Minus 3 equals -2. Plug 0 in. Y equals, in parentheses, 0 squared -3. 0 squared is 0 minus 3, which equals -3. So you have 0, -3. Plug 1 in. Y equals 1 squared -3. 1 times 1 is 1 minus 3 equals -2. 1, -2. Last but not least, we have y equals 2 squared -3. So you get 4 minus 3, which equals 1. Now let's go ahead and let's graph it. -2, comma, 1. -1, -1, 2. 0, -1, 2, 3. 1, -2, and 2, 1. Notice you are not connecting. Do not connect because you are given x values. This is really important. You are given x values here, so you do not want to connect them. However, does this make a pattern? Yes, this actually makes a U shape. And I would say that it has an axis of symmetry at the y-axis. So a y-axis of symmetry. Okay, please hit pause and then you'll hit the next video. Make sure you have all of this down. You'll watch the next video for the second example.